Hello and welcome to the Embrace Balance, Discover Joy podcast. I'm Amanda Butland, your host and intuitive life coach. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Embrace Balance, Discover Joy podcast. Today, my special guest is Cate Christine. Cate, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, I'm so excited to have you today. I always like to start out with a little icebreaker question. Would you mind sharing with us what hobby or activity brings you the most joy and why?
Okay, there's two.
Okay.
So I love to sing. I am a car singer. So, when you're in the car, I don't know if you're a singer in the car, but I love singing in the car and just like getting right there in with it. Even if I don't know the lyrics, I'll make up lyrics to go along with it. It just brings me so much joy. And the other thing is improv. It is so fun to just be silly and just let it all out. And
I,
yeah, those two things, it's just like it brings me pure delight and pure joy.
oh, I love that. I love the car singing. I haven't heard that one before as somebody's like favorite or something that brings them so much joy. But yeah, I am also a car singer, and yes, it is a lot of fun. So
I love it. But when that song comes on and you're like, I love this song, and you crank it up. And then, if you're stuck in traffic, it's okay because you're jamming and you're just having the best time ever. It's like pure joy right there.
yeah, it's funny though. I was noticed the other day while I was doing this. I heard a song come on, that I hadn't heard in probably like, I don't know, 30, 40 years. And you still remember
Whoa.
the lyrics. It's like crazy pants.
Okay, tell me, like, can you bust a move? Can you start doing it now?
No, I'm not gonna do it now. It was like some 80s song, right? And I'm like, wow, like it's crazy how you remember like lyrics to songs that like
Yes,
you grew up
it's
with,
in
right?
there
So
and it can come right out. I mean, I heard some music that I hadn't heard since high school, and I was like, it is right there. It is like all of a sudden you are there and you just, got the CD and it was a big deal.
awesome. Okay, well, we're here to talk about coaching today. So a little off topic, but that was a lot of fun. Um, so I would love for you to have you share with us maybe your journey, because I know you coach people, but I would love to hear sort of how you got to where you are today.
How I got to where I am today, it really has a lot to do with being a talk show host. So I was a talk show host for 10 years, and I was asked to serve on two committees for the state of Utah to help victims of violent crimes. I literally had no idea what I was getting into. But when I was approached, I was like, oh my gosh, of course, I'd love to serve my community. And I literally didn't know what I was getting into. I didn't know about trauma. I didn't know about trauma in the brain and the body. I knew nothing. And then I went to my first meeting and I didn't want to be in shock. But when you're hearing about some of the worst cases ever in your state, and then how the laws are such that it's adversely impacting those people, I was like, this is serious. This is a big deal. And then the Attorney General's office, they brought in all these experts on trauma. And I remember asking the question, I said, now that their brain has changed, can it ever go back? And they said, no, we haven't found anything that helps them. So I followed up and I said, wait a second. So they go through extreme trauma and they're just screwed over for life. And he's like, yeah, pretty much. And that hit me, that I was like, that's not okay. Because a lot of times they were children and they just witnessed a murder, because their parents were involved in things they shouldn't have been involved in. And then, so here you have this little kid who's 3 who will be adversely impacted their whole life. So I wound up searching to find different tools that would work. And I wound up going back to school and studying neuroscience, specifically rapid eye, because you can deprogram and reprogram the brain so fast. And so that's basically, I had trained in a lot of other modalities, but everything shifted with that training with the Attorney General's office. And I just said, no, because then that population is always vulnerable. They
Hmm.
can never get better. It's like they barely get a Band-Aid on and then it's ripped right off. So that's how I got into all of this, to be honest.
Wow. Yeah, that's a very, see observing that the traumatic experiences and then, wanting to do something about it. So I love, how that sort of sparked that in you to want to be able to help people because of seeing, sort of seeing what's happening. I would love for maybe if you could share with us sort of what it is that you do today. in the work that you do in coaching
So
others?
I still do that, but what I found is I really love when people can not have to go through trauma. And so one of the ways that I found is that's possible is if your intuition is activated. So if your intuition is activated, if your clairvoyance is intact, guess what? You can see things before they actually happen. You can ask for that information so you don't have to go through that hardship or that struggle. You can make a different choice. So what I do now is I actually teach people how to activate their intuition. And even if their intuition is already intact, then I teach them to up level, how they can turn it on and off at will, how they can use it in various capacities. And I teach that through the Silva method. And it is a blast. I have so much fun doing it because when someone starts to see, and then not only they can see, they can remote view, they can heal remotely, they can take care of their loved ones, they can start to remove the trauma in their own body. It's like, oh my gosh, magic is happening. I just love it.
I love that. I love that passion I see in you as you talk about this. And I love that you work with intuition because as an intuitive life coach, tap into my intuition in my coaching practice. But I'm fascinated by what you mentioned, the method that you use to help people with this, the Silva method. Could you maybe describe that to people that don't know what that is?
Absolutely. And so I'll just say this, I was intuitive prior to that, and I needed help more than what I already knew how to do. So I went into meditation and I heard the word Silva and I was like, I don't know what this is. And so I went and Googled it. And that's when I found out about the Silva method. The Silva method, it's been around since 1944. It was developed by Jose Silva. And his desire was to create better. What he would say a lot is may the best for all involved occur. So what it is he's created a 4-day training that by the end of the 4 days, if you do all the meditations, all the tools, you will have an activated intuition. And not only that, you'll be able to remotely heal your loved ones. You'll be able to detect the abnormalities and then rectify them too. So that's basically what the 4 day it is. We take you through over 20 meditations. We teach you a whole lot of tools, how to get into a different brainwave state so that you can access all this information and tap into these tools that you have. But for many people, they're dormant and they just don't use it. And I love the fact that you're an intuitive life coach because you're tapping in to all of the stuff that you know innately, not just from here in this life, but from everywhere before. You're like, I got it, you know?
Wow, that sounds like a very intense program. I mean, or method, what you were describing. I can't like imagine like all going through that process. It just sounds like so intense, but so fascinating.
It's not as intense as people think. It's really just dedicate the 4 days that you go, you sign up, just be prepared. You're going to get super relaxed. You may fall asleep, no punishment. Like it happens when you get into that relaxed state, but either way, the programming's still going in the subconscious. And so you're still receiving the information. And so by day 4, when we're doing remote healing on people, plus we're like, how do I know this information about this person? I'm like, we trained you, we programmed you so it could come forward, you know?
Wow, that is it's so interesting, right? Like how that even works. Like programming somebody like just by listening to meditations because oftentimes when you think about like tapping into your intuition it's like it is natural but oftentimes people block it, right? I mean
Mm-hmm.
a lot of kids sort of have are tapped into it, but as they grow and they're in society and all these things happening in life and then it sort of goes away and to be able to have this process that sort of helps people get back to that the ability to do that. It just fascinates me because I can like for my even my own journey it was like
Yeah.
it was a process, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's for sure not thinking back about as a child I remember such and such or doing things like this or seeing things like this, and it's like you're an adult, you've lived this life and a lot of it got suppressed, and then you're at a point in time where you're like, well, I want to redevelop that. How do I even go about doing that? So I'm just fascinated by this
I'm like,
process
come
because
on over. Because the best part is whether you're starting from scratch or you already have your intuition intact, as you do all of it, it's basically the way I see it is you're up leveling. It's like, whoop, next level. And so I have a lot of Silva graduates that they'll repeat the class. I'm teaching a class this weekend, and I have 10 Silva graduates that are coming. So they already know how to use the tools, but when you repeat it at a fraction of the cost. It's literally a tenth of the class cost. And it's like they hear things they hadn't heard before, and everything just is like, whoop, next level. And so
Hmm.
it's really fun. That's exactly what I did. I took it and I thought, oh my gosh, I got to repeat this. I want to hear all of it. And so I kept repeating it, and it kept getting easier and easier, and using the tools in different ways. And then when you start using the tools and then you create stuff and you're like, oh, I did that. I did that. I created with the universe, and then it showed up and you're like, yes. It's the best feeling ever. And then also to see all the Silver grads that they are constantly doing that. It is so fun. It's like, how much more fun can we have on planet Earth? You know?
Absolutely. A lot of fun, actually. I mean,
Exactly.
that's what we're here for, right? It's that co-creation. So yeah, no. I love what you said though about repetition, right? Like repeating it and doing it again, because
Yeah.
you're right. When when you do whatever it is that you do, like it could be anything, right? You're learning something,
Mm-hmm.
and you repeat it, you hear it differently because, as you said, you're at a different level. Once you've gone through it once, you've elevated yourself. You go through it again, you're at a different level, so you're going to hear different parts, different things, you're going to hear it differently, and each time you do it, you're sort of in a different place, and so you are hearing it differently, and then you get to level up. So I love that, what you talked about, sort of that, how that repetition works, and how that, how you just continue to elevate yourself.
Well, it's fun because one of the things I love to do is talk to people about what they're creating and what they're co-creating. And I love what you do because you're using your intuition in coaching, and you're co-creating with your clients. So you're like,
Mm-hmm.
hey, what do you desire to create? Let's make this magic happen. And then you're tapping in and using your abilities and your tools. And that's the part, because some people will be like, well, I don't have any. I'm like, no, you just don't know what you don't know. You were programmed out of it. Well, guess what? We can reprogram you, and then all of a sudden it opens up a whole new world. I mean, this is the key thing. The majority of people on this planet only use one part of their brain.
Mm-hmm.
They never even cross over the corpus callosum. And they're like, what? I'm like, yeah. So if you're only using a portion of it, it makes it really hard to have your intuition be activated. Kind of got to cross on over to make sure that's activated.
Yeah, I love what you said about the programming, or programming, reprogramming, because I mentioned earlier, right? Like children,
Yeah.
they have this, right? They have this intuition that they can use, and it gets sort of programmed out. I was wondering if you might share for, maybe parents out there who
Yeah.
have kids that they see have these amazing intuitive gifts, and don't want to stifle that, but school and society, like how can they help support their kids in continue to develop that instead of allowing it to get stifled and programmed down?
The first thing is believe them. So they will see things not just in this dimension, they'll see things in other dimensions too. And so, I have a colleague who called me and was like, hey, Kate, we got a situation at the house. And she told me what was going on. And I mean, just to put it simply, is her daughter at night, she would astral travel. So she would leave her body, she would go to other dimensions. Well, guess what? She brought stuff home with her. And the stuff she brought home with her was nefarious. It wasn't good stuff. And so I saw clairvoyantly what was happening. There were portals that were open. There were other things. And I'm like, and I talked to her and I said, hey, I want to talk to you about where you go at night. And she's like, oh, so the thing is, I just talked to her straight up. Like I could see what she was doing. So she was like, oh, Kate, this is where I went and I saw this and this and this. And then I said, and then you also saw, and she's like, yeah. And he's stuck in my bedroom now. I'm like, yeah. So I said, I'm going to teach you how we close a portal. I'm going to teach you how you can go visit, go check it out, go to night school, go to these other dimensions. And when you come back home, guess what? You'll leave all that there. Not going to bring it home back. You can go back and visit again, but you're going to leave it where it's at. And so anyway, we had the conversation. I taught her how to do it. I was on speakerphone with her, and my friend, my colleague was listening. She was like, you know these things. And she's like, the therapist said you got to believe her. She's like, you don't just believe her. Like you can see, you can really see this. And I'm like, yes, I can. And I said, your daughter can too. And so she can operate here on planet Earth. She can see things beyond planet Earth. And that's okay. It's not a bad thing. And, you can enable that and foster that. So I've given them lots of tools because I teach kids also how to read with the blindfold on. So their intuition is activated. So that if they can read a book with a blindfold on, guess what? They can also see if a predator is coming. And they know, and they can tell their mom, I don't feel safe with this person because of 1, 2, 3, 4. I can see and I know what he's done because I can see it. It's very often that people hold things in their field, they'll hold things in their body, memories, emotions, etc. So when people are like, they don't know, I'm like, you have no idea. If someone has intuitive abilities intact, all your dirty laundry is hanging out. It's right there in their face. And it's just a matter of them turning it on and off. So in terms of kids and helping them, it's really foster it. Okay, tell me more. Tell me more about what you're seeing. Tell me about what you're experiencing. A lot of times when I was a kid, they would talk about imaginary friends. I'm like, are they imaginary? I mean, I grew up in a high demand religion. When I was 5, they left me at church. And I remember very distinctly this woman you remember those bulbos that were like that pea green, that yellow pea green type of color? It was really terrible. But they had it. She said, I'll take you home. And so I jumped in the back seat. I didn't know how to get home. I was 5. And this man, all in white, came and sat next to me. And I looked at him and he said, I'll tell you how to get home. And so I couldn't even see over the seats, and he said, go straight, turn right, turn left. And anyway, so we got to the house. I jumped out of the car and then he went away. And then I went in the front door and my mom said, where were you? And I said, you left me at church, Mom. Someone had to take me home. She's like, well, how'd you get home? I'm like, oh, this man all in white, he just showed up and he told me exactly how to get home. She was like, ah. So that is the exact reaction not to. Don't do what my mother actually say, oh, tell me more. I want to hear more about this. Because it's very common, especially when kids see people from the other side. It's very normal. And most people, and they have anywhere from 1 to 6 different, team members around them of guardian angels who love and care about them. A lot of kids see them. I see them. Anyway, it's not unusual. And they'll be like, oh yeah, I see your uncle. He's right next to you. And they'll even say that. And then it's like, well, tell me more. Tell me more. So that it becomes a safe environment where they can share with you and it's not judgmental.
Yeah. I love how you brought that back to, you mentioned when kids can see, then they know who's safe and who's not, because that sort of comes back to sort of like the beginning of your story, right? And where this all started and why you do this. So I love that you brought that back. So beautiful.
We can have all that same information ourselves. It's not just for kids. We can know, and you can see things. It's I was dating someone and we met up with her friend and she said to him point blank, she said, hey, just so you know, Cate doesn't say this openly, but she's very psychic. So if you lie to her, she's gonna know. She's probably just not gonna tell you, but she'll know. And so he just looked at her. And so, I was aware when he was doing things that weren't correct, or I would say ethical or kind. And I just kept my mouth shut. But I just was like, that's really good information. Because the way I see it is, that's information. Thank you for making that choice. I'm going to choose a different choice.
Awesome. Well, this has been such an amazing conversation so far. I've loved chatting with you about all of this. I mean, it's not a topic that is discussed frequently, right?
Right.
So
well, and the thing is, it's cool because I would love to I realize we got to go in just a minute, but I'm like, I'm going to talk more about claircognizance because as you know this information, you know that you know that you know, and someone can tell you that's not right, and you're like, I know in my heart, and there's nothing that you can persuade me otherwise. You know it in your bones.
Yeah,
that's huge.
Yes. All right. Yes, I know we're just gonna try and wrap it up, but before we end, I wanted to just open it up for you. If there's any message that you want to share with the audience, anything that you'd like to put out there, I would love for you to share whatever it is that is in your heart that you'd like to get out.
I think this is the best thing. If you desire to have your intuition activated, you absolutely can. It does require practice. You do have to put forward some practice and some effort. However, if you would like to do it, I am happy to teach you. I teach 4-day Silva methods all throughout the year. And it's a matter of, if you already have your intuition attack and then you want to up level and you want to open up your clairvoyance, you absolutely can. Maybe you're like, I'm starting from scratch, I don't remember anything. That's okay, because you can always take where you're at and up level. And this is what I always say, I don't have a corner on the market. I just have these abilities fully intact. Well, you can too. You can do all of this and more. And we know from living on this planet, we have access to everything if we desire it, and it's made the best for all involved occur. Well, of course, why not? Then it's just a matter of, hey, let's practice. Let's get you in a place where you can use your whole brain. Well, it's like a lot of fun doing it too.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
So I'm going to put in the show notes information on where to find Cate and her program. So anybody that might be interested will be able to find her and activate their intuition. So thank you again so much, Cate, for being with me today.
Thank you so much. Oh, I was just thinking I should tell you my website. It's
Oh yeah.
silvamethodwest.com. So silvamethodwest.com or heal.me/silvamethodwest. But yeah, I'd love to help you, love to just, I'm like, how much fun could we have if all of us came online with our intuition? Like, what kind of world would that be? Like, how much fun would we have? Can you
That
imagine?
that would be quite fascinating.
I know, right?
Absolutely. All right. Well, thanks
Thank
again.
you so much.
I invite you to subscribe to the Embrace Balance Discover Joy podcast and join our community. If you feel inspired by what you hear, please leave a review and share this podcast with others who might benefit. And remember, it's never too late to embrace balance and discover joy in your life. Stay tuned for our upcoming episodes filled with inspiring stories and valuable insights. Until next time, take care and be kind to yourself.